This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Ten soldiers among 19 people killed as militants defy a state of siege declared in the DRC. Ethiopia designates a TPLF and the Oromo Liberation Army as terrorist organizations. And Tanzania's biggest hospitals install oxygen plants in boost to anti-COVID-19 efforts. Welcome to Africa Live on CGTN with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also coming up on the program. In sports, protesters storm Old Trafford ahead of Manchester United versus Liverpool tie. We begin in the DRC, where a militant raid has left at least 10 soldiers dead. They are among the 19 killed after militants attacked two villages in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The attack happened hours after President Felix Tshisekedi declared a state of siege in the provinces of North Kivu and Ituri. The East has seen a surge in violence. Intercommunal violence has killed over 300 people since the start of the year. Ethiopia's Council of Ministers has designated the Tigray People's Liberation Front and Shene as terrorist organizations. Once endorsed by Parliament, the decision will enable the government to take decisive measures against the groups and anyone affiliated with them. Here is CGTN's Girum Chala with more.
A statement released after the Ethiopian Council of Ministers decided to categorize both the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, and Shene as terrorist organizations reads, and I quote, "This decision will become applicable to organizations and individuals who collaborate, have links with, or relate to the ideas and actions of the designated terrorist organizations and others who have engaged in similar activities," end of quote. And once approved by the Parliament, this will give the government additional powers and legal ground to hunt down these groups and bring them to justice. The government claims attacks on civilians seen in the country over the last 3 years were either sponsored or plotted by TPLF and Shene. Shene likes to call itself the Oromo Liberation Army. Abiy Ahmed ordered a crackdown against the TPLF after the group attacked the Ethiopian army. Some experts said the latest decision has the potential of assisting the Prime Minister to win the war against groups that are said to disrupt peace and stability of the nation. On the other hand, some also warn Addis Ababa should take extra precautionary measures while implementing the law to avoid any human rights violations in the process. Group Dala CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Let's now shift our focus to the COVID-19 crisis in India. The country reported over 390,000 new cases Sunday. The international aid began to arrive in the country. So what's behind the huge surge in infections? Our correspondent Shweta Bajaj spoke to us from New Delhi.
Unfortunately, we haven't heard much from the government as far as why this has gone so out of control. On the 1st of March, India was standing at about little over 100,000 active cases. It was also a time when everybody has started to let their guards down. This was also the time when the second batch of vaccination started, which was 1st of March. Suddenly, the cases from 12th of April have not just ballooned, they have really gone to a level where it's uncontrollable at this point. You know, all hospital beds in India's capital are full. There are no oxygen cylinders available. You can forget about getting an oxygen bed. Everything has become a struggle as far as your health infrastructure is concerned. But between this time, we saw a religious gathering called the Kumbh Mela, which happened in the north of India. We also saw election campaigning happened in West Bengal. Incidentally, the results of that elections have just come out today, and during the results of the elections, ruling party BJP Banerjee, who's the current chief minister of the state of West Bengal, has won. But of course, large gatherings like election rallies and such kind of religious gatherings that happen at the Kumbh Mela are partly to be blamed, but really literally every household, every neighbor has full families who has COVID, and the spread hasn't stopped yet.
Nigeria will ban travelers from India, Brazil and Turkey starting May the 4th. A presidential committee on COVID-19 said Nigerian passport holders and non-residents who visited the three countries within 14 days preceding travel to Nigeria shall be denied entry. The West African country has reported more than 165,000 COVID-19 cases and over 2,000 deaths. The measure comes amid concerns about the rising numbers of COVID-19 cases in the affected countries. India is among the hardest hit countries with over 300,000 cases for the past 10 days. Brazil's death toll is currently only second to the United States. Meanwhile, Turkey has imposed a nationwide full lockdown in an effort to stop the spread of COVID-19. Now, some of the largest hospitals in Tanzania now have their own oxygen production plants. They're meant to assist patients under intensive care, including those with COVID-19. The country's health ministry says the installation of the units will help improve emergency services in the country. CGTN's Isaac Lucando has more.
Oxygen production plants have been installed in 7 referral hospitals across Tanzania. They can fill up to 200 cylinders a day, a potential lifesaver for those with COVID-19 and other patients too.
There are various patients. Some have pneumonia, heart failure, diabetes. It's a combination of patients. As we continue to prevent communicable and non-communicable diseases, even the use of oxygen will decrease, perhaps only going to people who have been involved in accidents and things of that nature.
The installation is part of a World Bank project. At a cost of $729,000 per oxygen plant, the ministry says they will help reduce running costs for hospitals by not having to buy individual canisters. Plans are also underway to install the plants in all referral hospitals in the country. With Tanzania last reporting COVID-19 cases in April last year, the country's late president, John Magufuli, was criticized for a relaxed approach to COVID-19. The recent establishment of a COVID-19 committee by his successor, Samia Suluhu Hassan, along with the installation of the oxygen plants, may be an indication that the government is slowly changing its approach towards COVID-19 in the country. While maintaining that Tanzania does not have a serious COVID-19 problem, President Hassan recently asked citizens to take precautions against the disease. Isaac Lucando, CGTN, Dar es Salaam.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has signed a law imposing tougher penalties against female genital mutilation. Under the new law, those involved in the outlawed practice face prison terms of up to 20 years. Rights groups have welcomed the legislative amendment, which holds parents and medics accountable for the cut. Here is Adel Mahroui with more details.
The Egyptian parliament and the president have approved a legislative proposal from the government to impose harsher penalties against female genital mutilation. For the first time, Egypt will hold parents or guardians who request FGM accountable, warning them and medics performing the crime that they could face up to 20 years in prison. Doctors found guilty will have their medical licenses suspended for a number of years, equivalent to their jail term.
The new law is inclusive. It penalizes medics and parents. Moreover, a girl whose genitalia has been mutilated can demand compensation from the doctor who performed this crime. The next mission is to have a clear enforcement plan. When we passed the 2015 law, which allowed FGM for medical purposes, the numbers grew despite the harsh penalties imposed.
The severity of punishment varies based on whether the mutilation caused permanent damage or led to death. Rights groups are calling on the government to provide a strong plan about how it will enforce the new law, especially in rural areas. FGM is most popular there. It's also usually performed by individuals with no medical background.
The government must move strongly into the rural areas. In the city there is awareness. A lot of girls die because of FGM, and that needs to stop. In the rural areas, people don't go to doctors. They can do it at home. So how will the government learn about that? Unless there is awareness, that habit won't stop. Awareness is very important.
Even though they've imposed new penalties, I don't think that's going to stop people from finding means of taking part in this torture, basically. I think that the idea is nice. It's nice that the government is considering women at this moment and that women are the forefront of their conversations. But I don't think that 5, 7, 10 years are going to help or change the trauma that women experience throughout their lifetime because of FGM.
According to a UN study, Egypt is ranked 4th in the list of countries across the world where FGM is widespread. An estimated 97% of women in the country had undergone the ancient procedure by the year 2000. That figure dropped to about 90% in 2017.
The numbers are still staggering. That's why women's rights groups are asking the government for more. Going through the checklist of the measures needed to curb FGM, the government checked criminalizing the act, imposing harsher penalties, and what remains now is to introduce stronger law enforcement. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
You're watching Africa Live. Still ahead on the program. Joblessness hits hard amid COVID-19 in South Africa. And in Egypt, innovation keeps businesses running.
Its effects are surreal, but its existence is undeniable. Mother Nature is fighting back against a species that is destroying it.
We're here to raise our voices. We know that climate change has already started and it's killing us.
It hurts. Amid the tears and the grief, however, there is hope for resolution.
We need to live in harmony with nature.
We focus on the deeds, the deals, and the people working to make a difference. This is Surviving Climate Change, only on CGTN.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself? If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice.
The International Labour Day was marked on a Saturday, but South Africa had little to celebrate. Over 2 million people lost their jobs in the country in 2020 as COVID-19 brought the economy to a standstill. Sumitra Naidu reports.
COVID-19 compounded South Africa's unemployment crisis. The country went into lockdown in 2020 for 5 months, pushing the economy into an abyss. Activities have almost returned to pre-lockdown levels, but unemployment remains a challenge.
In the short term, I think we are seeing a major bounce back in the employment numbers. And most of the jobs that we've lost, we've probably already regained 95% of them. Having said that, we must just remember that South Africa's unemployment numbers stood at 32.5% in the fourth quarter of last year. That is one of the highest in the world again, and we're the only country that has been consistently for more than 2 decades above 20% unemployment.
Several government initiatives to support the economy helped. Andrea Burr got a job under the president's stimulus program.
Unemployment is high in the jobs, opportunities is very less. There's not much for us young people to do, so the program really helped us in many ways. Helping my mom buy basic goods in the house, helping with groceries, certain things that we need in the house. It made things more easier instead of us having one person taking care of everybody in the house.
Anyone without an income could access a social grant of $25. For Charlotte Maposa, the special COVID-19 relief grant was a lifeline.
It was horrifying, especially since my parents were not working, my siblings were not working. I was the only one that was working at that time. and I was sort of like a breadwinner for everyone. So it was very horrifying.
Over 6 million people benefited from the special grants program that was to last until the end of April. But there have been calls and protests in some parts asking the government to make it a permanent basic income grant. Maposa accessed the grant for almost 1 year. She has managed to find a job but is grateful to have received the support.
It helped quite a bit because I managed to pay off some of the debts at home, and we were able to buy some of the necessities that we needed regarding like basics like meal, toilet paper, and proteins. Basically grocery. It was not enough at all. Because if you calculated the basic needs that people needed in a household, the money exceeded.
2 key relief programs, the Presidential Job Stimulus and the COVID-19 Special Grant, drew to a close on Friday, the 30th of April. But there's speculation the $25 grant may stay. The Department of Social Development is holding last-minute talks to see if the grant can be extended or made permanent. Sumitra Nadu, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
The global health crisis has changed the way some people approach business, especially after millions lost their jobs worldwide. Yasser Hakim looks at how one Egyptian has managed to sustain a living amidst the unemployment crisis.
The breakout of the coronavirus pandemic in Egypt since March 2020 has pushed official unemployment rates up from 7% to more than 10%. Amidst the economic fallout from the pandemic, the Egyptian president urged businesses to keep hold of their employees.
50% of the employees or more can work from home. The elderly, with all respect to them, do not need to go to offices. That is in the public sector. The private sector can do the same, but to be clear, without cutting any of their salaries or laying people off. The private sector is responsible with us to protect their workers, and we will help them. We helped them before, and we will give them more to relieve the burden in these circumstances.
The Egyptian president rolled out billions of dollars in emergency funds to the private sector, on condition they do not let go of any of their employees. The aim was to prevent higher unemployment rates.
But many people did not give up in these tough circumstances. They have looked for alternative options to create income instead of depending on their jobs.
Marwa Abdelaziz is one who benefited from the surge in online activity to build her small business at home after her previous job in clothing shut down. She has put her cooking talent to good use.
I specialize in sweets more than normal food. I like sweets more. The cheesecake, the tiramisu and cakes I'm good at. Also oriental sweets like kunafa, especially during Ramadan. I do it with cream and mango. Kunafa is the most in demand in the oriental sweets.
She takes orders online or on her WhatsApp group and delivers the food to her growing number of clients. Her business, called Rashid Sukkar, or pinch of sugar, took off as the pandemic prolonged. But even after the pandemic is over, Marwa expects businesses from home to be more lucrative than shops or restaurants.
Online orders for clients are a better option than going down to the shop with the traffic issues and wasting time and energy. Online businesses also made it easier to buy things from other cities or countries, so you don't need to go shopping. Clients see the pictures with more variety of food than in shops, and it's homemade, which guarantees it is cleaner and healthier than restaurant food. As a business, I prefer this setup more than opening a place. For an owner, it's less risky and less costly than having a shop or project.
Marwa believes that in her line of business, there will be less demand on people who establish or work in shops and restaurants post-COVID-19. Yasser Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
And we are staying in Egypt for the moment, where archaeologists working on the Nile Delta have uncovered 110 rare pre-dynastic tombs. They date as far back as the period before Egypt's pharaonic kingdoms, which first emerged more than 5,000 years ago. Well, we're staying with Yasser Hakim for the moment, where he tells us more about the importance of the discovery.
It took a lot of effort to unearth these rare monuments in the Qahliya, 200 kilometers northeast of Cairo. What makes this discovery unique is that the findings belong to 3 different ancient Egyptian eras.
Talking about the oldest monuments found, they date from 4000 to 3500 BC, the pre-dynastic Porta era. The second group of monuments are from 3500 to 3000 BC. Very important as well are the Hyksos from West Asia who controlled the country about 1500 BC modern kingdom. We rarely find monuments from the Hyksos period.
The pre-dynastic tombs are not the same as most tombs found in ancient Egypt. Individuals here were buried in oval-shaped pits in sand and mud, lying on their left side and facing west. These monuments have actually raised more questions than answers for the Egyptian archaeological team that made the discovery.
One that attracted our attention the most is a small pit that has 2 bodies, a woman holding a child. It was very touching to see, and now we are studying how they died and why they were buried like this. We have many other questions like how come the tombs were found next to each other, although they are thousands of years apart? Where are the tombs from the periods in between, such as the Old and Middle Kingdoms? Why are they missing? Where have they gone? Still looking for answers.
Meanwhile, the belongings found inside the tombs indicate to archaeologists that even during the pre-dynastic era, people believed in life after death. Yes, Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
Let's now take a look at your sports news. Here's what's ahead. Protesters storm Old Trafford ahead of Manchester United versus Liverpool tie.